Welcome to Tech Community. Today I will be showing you how to create a form and grade it using Flubaroo. If you'll notice, I'm at their website here. It's pretty simple, flubaroo.com. They got some good to bring it up. Okay, they've got a little video on how to do it, a little information for teachers, and they just released a new update in June 24th with some cool stuff. Alright, I'm going to show you today how to use it to grade your quiz or an assessment as a teacher. It's really simple. What Flubaroo does is it's an answer script inside of a spreadsheet. So it's nothing you really do in Flubaroo. It's everything you do is inside Google Forms and then Google Spreadsheets that comes off of that form. Alright, so the first thing you need to do is you need to create a quiz or a form or some sort of assessment. So let's go in to Google Drive. I'm in Google Drive. And first off, for teachers, you want to be really organized in this. You want to have a nice organized drive. I'm not extremely organized, but wherever you create the form, I would recommend it being in the class or the grade level or the hour that's specific to the form you're going to do. Okay, and that can be a whole nother session, but I recommend it being organized as much as possible. On that note, you can always move things around after you create them in Google just by dragging the folder around. Alright, so I have a folder here, I call it Flubaroo, and I can go in and let's create a form. So I go in and I create my form. Okay, it loads up. We want to name it. I'll name it Quiz, and you can pick any of the theme, just stay on the default and go ahead and start. Okay, and it's setting up. It attaches itself to a spreadsheet. Now I'm going to look up here at the top, and this has to do with our school logins inside of a district. This requires Constantine Public Schools to log in to view this form. So if you were to send this form out, you would be forced to log in with your credentials. If you click this box, this automatically collects that information that you logged in using. So for example, mine's jcopeland at consps.org. I have to be logged in to 1, take the quiz, and then 2, it automatically collects that data. This would be a good thing for students to avoid cheating, because the student has to log in. Yeah, students could share their credentials and other students could take and log in. Of course we have that. But I think that this is just one little step that kind of slows that issue. So you can have this set up. Or if you just want to send this form out and you want it simple, you can take the check marks off. It'll give you a warning and you can say okay. But that's a little helpful tool on what that does. I like to take the check marks off because I do a lot of professional development. But if you're in the classroom doing this with students, I do recommend automatically collecting the respondents' information, just so you have that in your spreadsheet. All right, now I'm going to speed this up in the video so you don't have to watch me make my quiz. But before I go, I want to make certain that there are 3 questions you must have in a Flubaroo form to make your life easy. First question is first name. Okay, and you want to make that text, and you want to require that, and then I'm going to duplicate this, and I'm going to have this last name. Okay, and done. So I got first name, last name, and also you want to have their email address. And this is where the student could put their email address in. Now, if the students automatically get collected, this is not a big worry, but I like to have it in 2 places. But if they mess up or make an oops right here, your email might not go through. Okay, so we want to make it required. Also, in regards to the questions Flubaroo can answer, you got text questions, multiple choice questions, check boxes, and choose from a list. It will not grade a paragraph text. However, you could, as a teacher, go back and then grade it. And these are a little bit more advanced, which I'm sure Flubaroo will eventually be able to grade as forms are updating with Google. very rapidly. Okay, so I'm going to speed this up as I go through the questions and I create my form, and then you guys will catch back up to me. Okay, I'm back here. I'm done with my quiz. Okay, I just created it real quick. First name, last name, student email address. What hour are you in? This is helpful for me, and when I'm organizing my quizzes, I can sort it by what hour they're in. And then a couple questions. True, false, it could be a text, multiple choice. Now, the next thing you need to do is you need to create your answer key. So my form is ready. Okay, I'm going to take the quiz. I'm going to answer this correctly. So let's go up here. You can go view live form. So I view live form. And now I'm going to answer these questions correctly. Now here, I like to put in the words answer key, answer for first name, key for last name. You can put in your own personal name as the teacher. And then, because that'll make it easier for you to find the answer key. Now student email address. You're going to put your email in here. Now, what hour are you in? You can. This is a question that you're not going to give points to. This is just going to be a student identifier. Okay, so this doesn't have to be right or wrong. It's not going to be a percentage. Now, these questions, if you noticed, I didn't make this a requirement, so I really don't have to even answer it. What shape is an apple? Okay, we might want to make this correct. And what is the capital of Michigan? Lansing. And then submit. Okay. Now you can submit another response. You can turn this off so students don't get the option to retake the quiz. And I can show you where to turn that off in a second. Or for this opportunity, I'm going to submit another response as a pretend student. Okay. Because ultimately what you would want to do right now is you would want to send this out to your students, either by email, Google Drive document that you share with the students. You can share this form with them. You can create a QR code off of this and have them scan the QR code in your classroom when they walk in. Sometimes you want to be aware of students sharing the information, so if you email it, they can forward on. If you share the actual form's URL, they can share it on. A QR code is really good because then they have to be in the room to get it. But that's a whole nother system. I just wanted to kind of express how you can give it to the students. I know some of my staff is using a Google Doc. They put the URL on there or a link to it, and then they just delete that Google Doc so it's no longer shared with the students after hours. Okay, so I'm going to submit another response really quick as a student so you can see. Now I'm going to get one wrong and one right. Okay, I submitted. Okay, now I'm going to go back to my quiz. So let's fast forward here. All your students took the quiz. Okay, you gave it to them some format, some way. Now, if you notice up here it says responses. I've had two responses. One was me and the other one was the fake student. Well, I can click on responses or I can just simply say view responses. Alright, so now this pulls up my spreadsheet. Okay, and at any time I can go back in, click on my quiz, okay, and then in my quiz I can view the responses. So here's the responses. Now here you have the list of first name, username did not get snagged because I didn't log in, and last name, student email. Okay, so these are the responses. Well, now I want to go up to insert because I'm going to insert Flubaroo. I go to script. I'm going to search for it. F-L-U-B-A-R. Okay, and there it is. You want to install. Now here in our school district, it's going to ask for permission. Okay, do I want to authorize this app? Yup. And then do I want to give it permission to do all these things? Yes, I do. And this is set up through our tech department. You have to do this on every form. Not every time you grade, but every time you do a new form or a new assessment. Close. Okay, now up at your toolbar, you get a word that says Flubaroo. Now I'm going to click on that. You get a drop-down box where you can grade assignment. You can set the language. You can change this to Spanish, but once you change it, it stays that language, okay? So that is an option for somebody who teaches Spanish and they want a full Spanish assessment. That's a great opportunity there. So I'm going to grade my assignment. Okay, it's going to run the script. It's thinking here. All right, this is the very important piece. So here you can change your points for your questions. Say maybe some of them are worth 5 or 2 points. All right, but these are telling you these are student identifiers. This is how I'm going to identify my students. If you had username, it collected usernames, it would put it in there. So I want first names, yep, good, last names, and student email address, and then the points. So I'm going to continue. It's doing some thinking. All right, now this is where you need, this would eventually show all of your students, okay? So if you had 100 students, there'd be 100 people here. You're going to want to pick yours out. That's why it's kind of nice to do answer key because it starts with an A. So we'll do answer key and then continue. All right, there we go. And now it's giving you an option to telling you a little bit more about it and that the grades for questions that are below 70% will appear in red font, okay? But questions that overall questions that students got less than 60% on will show up in orange, okay? Will show up in orange over here. That's great as a teacher because now I know what I need to reteach. So if you had a 20 question quiz and 5 out of the questions, most of the kids failed, well, one, you can reassess, you can relook at what we missed, or you can look at the question. So that just gives you some feedback right away. So it shows points possible and the average score, and then how many people submitted, and the number of questions that were low. So I like this, how it gives you the feedback right away. It gives the student email and their last name, and then over here it's going to have an email grade, and I'll explain that in a second. But anytime you can see who submitted by flipping back and forth from the grades to student submission. So there, it graded it. Now let's say a student submitted after you graded, or you gave them a retake opportunity. You just go right back up to Flubaroo and you regrade the assignment. It's going to regrade them all. Okay, just a heads up on that, but very effective. The next option I want to show is student feedback. Now I'm going to click on this, watch the spreadsheet behind me. All right, I got a new box here. This allows me to type a message to each individual student if I'd like, or just a handful of students, maybe the ones that got a bad grade I need to meet with, or students that got a great grade, okay, positive reinforcement, positive feedback, or something that you might have a question on, like, oh, you missed all of them, or maybe there was an issue, you want to meet with them. You can put it in here, okay, because the feedback that you put in there will be emailed to them, all right? So now I talked about that email. Let's go back up to Flubaroo. And I can email the grades. This is my favorite part because this gives that response. I used to answer all my questions or grade my papers on a Sunday. Well, now I can do it real fast and I can give that feedback right away. I email the grades. Okay, and now here it's going to, where do you want to send that to? Well, I want to send that, you could send it to username if you had that checked, or the student email address, which I put in as a question. Do you want to include the list of questions and scores? Yes. Do you want to include the answer key? This is not checked automatically because most often you don't want them to have the answer key. Again, they could forward this on. Now, if you wanted a message to go here, remember, you have that optional message over here, this area right here, which will be sent to them. But if you want a message to the entire group, you could say, these So these are the results of your Chapter 2 quiz. And then you would say continue, okay, and then it's going to email out. I'm going to say continue, but I know I have an email address that's not active, and I did that on purpose. Okay, so it's going to email. One email was sent. Okay, it's telling me that my email was graded, or I emailed the grades, okay, and that's great. But I just heard a ding here in my system that I know I just received an email as a teacher. Okay, and you will receive the results on how many emails were sent, how many were received. Okay, so that is Flubaroo. That is how you grade. That's how you give some results. Okay, and that's how you can submit other items to students. A little bit of feedback. If you have any questions, please email or comment. And again, you can go to flubaroo.com and get a little bit more information. Enjoy and happy grading.